Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to Set the Stage of Global Thought Leaders, an initiative by RightSource Global. We've been talking to a lot of global thought leaders for the last few months and exchanging ideas through this podium so that everybody is benefited and there is a growth that comes into picture when people talk about their experiences. Today, we have with us Ms. Anyuta Dhir, who is an experienced professional having over 2 decades of experience in the HR space. And I think I have been conversing with her for about 2 months now, which is not much, but I can definitely say that she is a bold lady, right? So we'll hear more about Anyuta from her itself. Hi, Anyuta.
Hi, and thank you for the great introduction. It's just so honorable to be here and share my learning journey.
Thank you. Thanks, Anyuta. So let's start off with your, set of questions which actually enlighten us and the audience too through what your experience and expertise is. So you are a powerful and experienced HR executive in the industry, right? So what are your thoughts on people, culture in the organizations, and how important do you think this is to an organizational success?
What I think is the key is to think creatively about people and culture, as there are no two times that may be same or no two given situations. As I've heard, you can never enter the same river twice. So, by creating a strong company culture aligned with the organizational objectives, one can increase employee productivity and therefore increase the overall work output. I always say there is no point in having, framed visions and missions and values in an organization where people cannot relate to it. So, in fact, it's better understood and accepted when the key stakeholders, that is the management and the leaders who walk the talk, and that's actually when the rubber meets the road. And that's how people know exactly how to live by it and propagate it while they demonstrate that culture. A business can form a culture organically by the people who propagate it. And this very organic culture can be shaped and supported by leaders to being enablers and, by leading the way. So, organic culture affects all aspects of business. So, talking about work contracts, benefits, incentives, and it impacts all the stakeholders. Stakeholders being management, employees, customers, investors, and they are more likely to feel comfortable when everybody talks the same language. Uh, have you ever seen a complex analog watch? And have you seen how complex the system is? And what if I remove a small nut? Will the system bring any efficiency to it? No, right? So that's what I feel. No node, whether big or small, it doesn't matter where it is. But if it is a part of the system, it's very integral and brings a great level of efficiency and brings strength and productive outputs to business goals. So to put it simply, culture is a lifeline of any business, and this very culture established by the leaders.
Thank you so much, Amrita. I think that was wonderfully explained. I personally totally believe in, it's all about people and the culture if it's an organization. Processes will follow, right? So
Right.
I think that's really nice to hear about it, Anyuta.
Thank you.
Okay, so Anyuta, I think who better than you talking about HR trends, right? So there's been major shift due to numerous reasons in these trends last maybe a couple of decades, majorly, in the last 6 to 7 years, right? So what do you think where is this going to lead us? So what do you think? What is your take on this?
So, to understand the trends, let's just throw some light on where we've come from. So, let me start from Generation X. These were the times of the Industrial Revolution and times for survival, and the jobs options used to be very limited. So, people used to, even tolerate a lot of abuse. And these were the era when the boss was always right. But then came the IT revolution and the turn of era for Generation Y. So it was not about survival, but it was about sustaining the standard of living. So people did have a few more options in their lives, but these are the very people who are now looking for quality workplaces. And now it's like, we just turn the tables. Now we're talking about Generation Z. the times of the social revolution, information available at the click of a button. And people, these generation look for a lot of pampering and instant information. So because there's a lot on offer, and they do not have to, it's not even about survival, it's not about sustaining the standard of living, it is just about, enjoying and surfing the space. So in the current trends, and the current trends being the times of this very generation Z, HR has to look at to adopt, what we call now as the new normal. And this new normal came up with a bigger force of the pandemic, being unprecedented times for mankind. What came in the forefront was, that HR had to look for productive ways with work from home options, gig workforce, moonlighting is a lot in talks nowadays, and AIs and RPAs, AI being artificial intelligence and robotic process automation, taking away a lot of monotony from the place of work, leaving a lot of intelligent work that's left behind. So organizations have to live up to their social accountability, and these kind of organizations will thrive where their agility comes from its human capital, and they realize this. So these kind of companies that inspire their workforce towards unlimited possibilities will win, as its talent pool are its profit centers, and HR must lead the way.
Thanks, Anyuta. Now that you've spoken about organizations, culture, new normal, pandemic, and everything, right? So I just
Yeah.
wanted to understand, how COVID-19 has triggered a global paradigm shift and how the pandemic actually affected the human resources and the organization culture.
So, what came in the forefront for me was during the COVID times. What stood out was, companies, spaces, industries, hierarchies, boundaries, they all became seamless. And it was all about human beings helping human beings, irrespective of where we came from. And what came in the forefront was the humanity quotient, and this is all in all a form of human resources. And my favorite tagline, that is, being humanely resourceful, came to the forefront. And HR has realized that above all its processes, systems, framework, concepts, the most important value card is the humanity quotient that works best. And where the employees of today want, the way I said, they want TLC and respect. Now, TLC we all know as tender love and care, but I've swapped these with trust, learning, and culture. And I've also abbreviated respect to R being for recognition, E being for exciting work missions, S being for security and safety at work, and P being pay, which is just a very small part, but not the only part that leads this workforce. E being education and growth. C being congenial and conducive workplaces, and T again being trust, which plays a very, very significant role. So organizations in India Inc. can get hints of these from also the upcoming labor code. And organizations know now that people are its true capital. And as already mentioned, to retain its talent pool, we have to thrive, the workplaces where we are, promoting more productivity and a conducive work environment, inspiring this very workforce. And all this while HR is in the core.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. When you talk about the humanity, human quotient, and everything, right? Most of us have learned it the hard way. And I was in the core of all these things during the first and second wave of COVID-19. So thanks so much, Anyuta, for sharing your, experience on these. And now coming to, you have your, you've learned everything about corporate governance. Now, I think you're more or less an expert in corporate governance. So, I would like to understand how your experience as a HR and now that you're a corporate governance expert would or can bring boardrooms to a different level. So, what can you contribute to the boardroom?
What I feel that corporate governance brings a lot of systemization and organization, format to a company or a firm. And corporate governance is one of the cornerstones of any good business. It encourages a robust and effective decision making, through the three pivot pillars, excuse me, being processes, practices, and policies. And moreover, it provides a safety shield against any alleged malpractice or dereliction to corporate duty. And excuse me, corporate governance is also important because it creates a system of rules and regulations and practices. So here, I think human resources go hand in hand and complementing each other, where one cannot thrive without the other. And as a global leader in the space of HR, what I can bring to the boardroom is contributing to the four basic building blocks, and these being people, performance, process, and purpose. So when I'm talking about people, selection of leaders is very critical to any organization. So contributing in that space. When I talk about performance, I'm talking about designing fair and transparent yet motivating and ethical ways of assessing people's performance and bringing correlated benefits and incentives. And when I'm talking about process, I'm talking about bringing in and structuring of control systems, and particularly of the board of directors, above all. And when I'm talking about purposes, I'm talking about fixing and rebuilding dysfunctional corporate structures with clearly defined roles and ethical contributions at those levels. A good corporate governance leads to ethical business practices, which leads to financial viability.
Amazingly put, Anyuta. And if somebody asks you now whether you're Arjuna or Draupadi, I think you should definitely say Arjun.
Yeah, okay. Great. Sure.
Right. So, coming back to you, looking at you as an HR, I come across a lot of young minds, coming to me and looking at, I want to become an HR, but they have no understanding of what an HR is. They probably have some degree, and then is MBA HR then good thing to do? What are my prospects, right? But what is your, what is your advice for people who are aspiring to become HRs?
What I very strongly feel that you can be successful in the space of HR by understanding that it's ever changing. Change is the only constant when it comes to people. So how to plan for the ever dynamic future, being a change agent, is what the HR mindset has to think. They also want to understand of linking adaptive initiatives to business goals, and they can translate the business context and the evolving world of work into short, mid, and long term strategic milestones. This will only help the organization and the company meets its vision and goals by, and also by building a lot of operational resilience. What I feel is HR can enhance the employer and the employee value proposition in the entire life cycle from hire to retire of an employee. And by knitting and integrating the very vision, mission, and values, where vision is where the organization is going, mission is how it's planning to go there, and values being behaviors on that path. As I said, culture is a lifeline of any business, and it can form organically by the people who are in it. But if HR looks consciously at shaping up this very place where productivity and performance thrives, I think this is where HR's leadership capabilities and being an enabler scope follows on.
True, Anyuta. So I think all the aspiring HRs, please have, look at this interview and pass on this message to the rest of them as well. Right. So, Anyuta, we've been building this global thought leaders community for cross pollination of knowledge, basically, right? And
Right.
for having better corporate governance in the country in itself. And obviously, we want to contribute to the growth of the country, right? So, what are your thoughts about these initiatives that we are taking?
I have such high regards for RightSource Global being a pioneer in its mission to bring on a single platform all the nuances of corporate governance, being information, knowledge, latest trends, industry thought leaders, case studies, live exposure, and all of this under one umbrella, making it very easy for an aspiring board member like myself, to get it all under one roof and the instant click of a button. And I think RightSource Global's vision to contribute to the Indian economy through its mark, that is by training 1,000 professionals in this space, is phenomenal. It speaks for itself, that they want to make the Indian economy strong in by the by establishing ethical ways of corporate governance, promoting transparency, accountability, and security. Spreading awareness, and people who aspire to be board members would know about these three, how these three things are critical. And India, with an easy access to this knowledge and spread awareness, can establish its corporate governance on a very ethical foundation, which is very true to its rich cultural values and heritage.
Thank you so much, Anyuta. I don't think uh, we wouldn't go closer to our vision without people like you on board. Thank you so much, and we hope to achieve our vision slowly and meet more people like you. Thank you. So, Anyuta, I think I'm a person who has always seen strategy, especially the business strategy, is close to corporate governance, right? So, what are your takes on this?
See, what I feel is, uh, the core ingredients of any business strategy is basically supporting the vision, right? And as I've already brought out, vision is where you want to go, mission is how you want to be there, while values are the behavior on the path. And this is core to any business base and any business strategy. And the vision statements needs to be relevant, believable, and doable, and inspiring enough to achieve. And what I feel is corporate governance plays a very critical role uh, when we need strategy with it. And what I feel is people need to be conscious about the resource allocation, that's people and capital, organizational design. So when I'm talking about organizational design, I'm talking about the autonomy, the responsibility, and the complexity. While the complexity and autonomy talks about how much control to give, how much control to take on or let loose. Responsibility comes about delegation, and it's not very easy many times. But that's where you break down these very big projects and initiatives into smaller milestone and achievable milestones, and you create these team objectives by each function involved in the business. And now, talking about the next ingredient is the portfolio management. It's about choosing what business to be in and carefully considering the risk management, developing strategic options, monitoring the competitive landscape, ensuring that the portfolio is well balanced in relation to the market trends. And then the final one is the strategic trade offs. The most difficult part here is to balance between the risk and return. The higher the return, the higher the risk factor. And what I feel is the very execution is based on the leadership providing the true product differentiations in specific markets, while also working on incentive structures, which usually impact on how much risk and return managers seek. So, what I feel is a business strategy must consider factors like competitors, business environment, as well as the company's structure and core strengths and weaknesses, and including the leadership's vision, which talks about, encapsulating the company's culture and market interception plans. So, what I feel is this is where the corporate governance and business strategy complement each other towards an ethical or maybe a management that has a support structure that allows it to work ethically with state of the art agile systems and above all efficient resources. And every time I talk about resources, I have a very soft corner and a major bias towards human resources being in its core. So that's about it.
Amazing, Anyuta. I think your answer to the last one has reminded me of a couple of things I would want to discuss. I mean, at least tell about here. The first thing is the Spider-Man movie, which says, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think that is absolutely true. It has to be imbibed right from childhood, right? That if you need power, you will have responsibility and you'll have to take care of it. And another influencer that I follow is Simon Sinek, right? So whenever there is a business that we have or an initiative that we take, so we start thinking about why, right? So that's the innermost circle. It's called the golden circle rule. I'm sure every one of us might have come across it at some point in time. So you address the why first, and then the what and how will come across, right?
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Anyuta, for coming here. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for sharing all your thoughts here on Center Stage.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on this platform. It's been an honor and pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for taking your time and watching our Center Stage with Anyuta Dhir. Have a great day. Thank you.